Hi, and welcome to The Traveling Fool, the show where we explore the most intriguing aspects of travel, culture, and history. Do you like festivals? Well, it seems that there is a festival for just about everything. Food festivals, religious festivals, and festivals honoring local historic events. I'm your host, Bob Bales, and today we are talking about a few festivals around the world that you should visit. Some are strange, some are fun, and some are just plain weird. So stay tuned and we'll explore some of the more interesting festivals around the world. Okay, welcome back, and this week we are talking about festivals. I have been to a lot of festivals. When I was in the military, stationed overseas in Germany, there was always a beer fest or a wine fest or some kind of festival going on almost every weekend. And being a good little soldier, I tried my best to hit them all. But there are festivals going on all over the world. And I've been to a lot of festivals here in the United States as well. And sometimes when you go to a festival, it makes for a great trip because you can do things beforehand, visiting a location, spend some time enjoying the area, and then hit up the festival as the last part of your trip before you head home. One thing you don't want to do is head to a festival, spend 2 or 3 days enjoying a festival, and then have 2 or 3 days to see the sights around town. Hit those sites first. Trust me, it's a lot better when you do the festival at the end. So let's start talking about a few of these festivals that make for a good trip and make for some fun. But we're going to start off with a weird one first. And you can't make this one up. It has elements of cryogenics, deportation, evictions, legal wranglings from all sides, and the passage of an exception to the law in order to store a dead body. I'm talking about the frozen dead guys days. Now, in 1989, there was a Norwegian citizen who brought the corpse of his recently deceased grandfather to the United States. The body was preserved on dry ice for the trip and stored in liquid nitrogen at a cryonics facility in California from 1990 to 1993. In 1993, the body was returned to dry ice and transported to the town of Nederland, Colorado, where the fellow and his mother planned to create a cryonics facility of their very own. They wanted to bring grandfather back to life. But the grandson was deported from the United States for overstaying his visa, and his mother continued keeping her father's body cryogenically frozen in a shack behind her unfinished house. Well, she was finally evicted from her home for living in a house with no electricity or plumbing in violation of local ordinances. And at that time, she told a local reporter about her father's body. Imagine the look on those guys' faces. And the reporter went to a local city hall in order to let them know about her fears that her eviction would cause her father's body to thaw out. I can imagine what the neighbors must be thinking when that weird smell came across the fence. But according to an article in the February 7th, 1995 Denver Post, she was found guilty by a jury of building use and zoning violations. And the Nederland town judge ordered her to remove the frozen body of her father from Nederland by March the 6th or face 10 days in jail and a $600 fine. Well, the story caused a sensation. I don't know why. In response, the city added a broad new provision to its section of the municipal code of keeping of bodies. However, because of all the publicity that had been arisen from this incident, let's say, they made an exception for grandfather, a grandfather clause, if you will, and the grandson secured the services of a local environmental company to keep a cryonic facility running. So the CEO of that company, known locally as the Iceman, and caretaker responsible for transporting dry ice necessary for the cryopreservation to the Institute, something he's done since 1995. And in that year, a local tough shed supplier and a Denver radio station built her a new shed in which to store the body of Grandpa. In honor of the town's unique resident, Nederland started holding an annual celebration which first started in 2002. Frozen Dead Guy Days is typically celebrated on the second weekend of March. They have coffin races, a hearse parade, a frozen dead guy look-alike contest. Yes, people vie to look like the dead guy, because apparently you can go into the shed and look at the body. There's a documentary on Grandpa called Grandpa's in the Tough Shed, but they even made a newer version of that film. And you could tour the tough shed where Grandpa is still frozen. They also had a polar plunge for those brave enough to go swimming in Colorado in early March, which generally requires breaking through the ice. They have a dance called Grandpa's Blue Bowl. They have pancake breakfasts and a poetry slam, market showcasing local artists, and just all kinds of drunken debauchery and fun. One of the local ice cream companies makes frozen dead guy ice cream for the festival. It consists of a flute-flavored blue ice cream mixed with crushed Oreo cookies and sour gummy worms. Because after all, I'm sure that Grandpa's got a couple of worms in him by now anyway. Tours of the Tough Shed, where Grandpa is still frozen, were suspended in 2005 after the family got frustrated with the frozen dead guy days. But they resumed in 2010. I guess Grandpa was getting lonely. And there's been a growing increase in interest in the festival, with rising attendance numbers each year. Back in 2019, the event had an estimated 25,000 visitors. In 2020, just days before the festival weekend, it was canceled due to concerns of coronavirus and large crowds. And the son and mother filed a complaint against the city involving money and naming rights. Frozen Dead Guys Days continued to be held annually, but until 2023, the city of Nederland canceled it, stating they refused to work with the festival's current owners. So, in 2023, the festival moved to Estes Park, about 40 miles away. Estes Park said, "Hey, we'll take you. Come on over and celebrate dead Grandpa." I guess you can still make the 40-mile trek and see Grandpa if you wanted to, because they didn't move the shed, just a festival. So it's now held in Estes Park, Colorado. And if you go there, you might want to stay at the Stanley Hotel. You may know the Stanley. It has all kinds of pop culture history. Stephen King once spent a winter night there, snowed in, which gave him the inspiration to write The Shining with Jack Nicholson, who starred in the movie, and Shelley Duvall, I believe it was, which really messed her up. You want to have a funny read? Well, disturbing read, I guess. Read about the making of The Shining. And from Colorado, we're going to go to Ohio. Did you know that there is a festival celebrating duct tape? That's right, duct tape. Every year over Father's Day weekend, the greatness of duct tape is celebrated with a festival in Avon, Ohio, which is home to the headquarters of Sure Tape Technologies, the company that makes duct tape. Now, I mentioned earlier I was in the military, and we use duct tape for everything. And the duct tape event, it includes many things familiar to festivals, such as carnival rides and live music. But of course, duct tape has a starring role. There are massive sculptures made from duct tape, a parade with duct tape floats, and a fashion show where participants wear an outfit crafted from the product. So if you ever wanted to celebrate duct tape, head over to Avon, Ohio on Father's Day weekend. And from Avon, Ohio, why don't we go to Oklahoma? And we're going to attend a noodling tournament held every June in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma. And noodling really has nothing to do with ramen, spaghetti, or linguine. This town of around 6,000 citizens welcomes thousands, including media outlets from around the world. And for those of you that don't know, noodling is hand fishing. That's right. Get in the water, stick your head underneath, Put your arm in a hole where the fish hide. The fish will grab onto your arm and you yank that sucker out. Now, the event started as a tournament 20 years ago at a place called Bob's Pig Shop. No relation to me, but I do envy him. That's a heck of a name for a shop. But has grown into the world's largest hand fishing tournament. It includes festival fun like a catfish cook-off, a kids' catfish eating contest, live music, concerts, food vendors, and a whole lot more. Doodling is something that I would never do, but a lot of people do it. Just stick your arm in there, let that fish latch on, and pull it out. And a lot of these are big catfish, and some of these things are like 4 or 5 feet long, man. But I guess you got to have a tournament for it. If you're going to have a tournament, you might as well make it into a festival. And from noodling and catfish, what is more iconic in the United States than Bigfoot? And I imagine there's probably more than one of these. But West Virginia has the Bigfoot Festival. It first began in June of 2021 when they did the grand opening of the West Virginia Bigfoot Museum in Sutton, West Virginia. 1,500 people attended that first festival, and over 20,000 people attended in 2024. Now, why Sutton, West Virginia? Well, there have been multiple sightings of a Bigfoot-type creature over the years in that county and all over West Virginia. And after hearing firsthand tales of sightings from people, the owners of Mountain Laurel Country Store decided to open a museum. And what better way to draw attention to it than hold a festival for the grand opening? Well, today there's over 300 vendors and food trucks, live music, and a whole lot of well-known speakers in the Bigfoot industry. So if you've got kids that are wondering what to do when they grow up, tell them that there is an aspiring business for Bigfoot speakers around the United States. They have a whole community of these people. And they hold this in late June every year. And the festival just keeps getting bigger. People bring RVs. There's RV hookups out there. You can stay on festival grounds. And while you're there, you can check out Lake Sutton and the surrounding area for some outdoor fun and activities. It's a beautiful area out there. And if you run into Bigfoot, well, I don't know, maybe you can be a speaker at the next year's conference. But now, if you think the United States has some weird festivals, we do. But there's some other weird ones around the world, too. How about a baby jumping festival? Now, I know where your mind's going. It's not a bunch of babies jumping up and down. But once a year, since the 17th century, they've been doing this. In the May-June time frame, a unique event takes place called El Salto del Colacho. I know I'm screwing that up. And it is held in Castrillo de Murcia, which is a little village near Burgos in Spain. And it's a mix of Spanish tradition and religious ceremony. The festival is part of the Catholic holiday Corpus Christi, which is a Christian feast in honor of the Holy Eucharist. In the ceremony, the newborn babies, up to 12 months, if you're over 12 months, you can't attend. The newborn babies of the village are put on the ground while a person disguised as Satan, holding a club, jumps above them as a remedy to the evil's removal from their souls. This event leaves the spectators who are unfamiliar with the tradition overwhelmed and a little speechless, I would imagine. But this tradition says that if this person, dressed up as Satan, jumps over the babies, it removes the original sins from the babies. So, if you happen to be in Spain, and you happen to be there at that time of year, head over to this little village, grab a beer, and watch some guy dressed up as the devil jump over babies. What better way to spend the day? But it is about 27 miles from Burgos, Spain, and Burgos is beautiful. It has a cathedral, which is a World Heritage Site, and several museums. The medieval city is a popular destination. In fact, the 11th century knight El Cid was raised in that town, and it's a popular stop on the Camino de Santiago. But not to be outdone, this next town says, well, we see your devil and we raise you some flaming balls. Yeah, you heard me right. This festival is perfect for the adventurer who truly wants to live on the edge. It takes place in a town called Nayapa, El Salvador. Las Bolas de Fuego is the Festival of the Fireballs. See, when they had this volcano, El Playon, erupt in 1658, it forced the town to move to its current location. While that was happening, the volcano threw balls of fire into the air, which led to this hot and dangerous tradition. Now today, the balls of fire are made with rags, covered in wire, and sunk into kerosene for about a month. And they have teams of men with their faces covered in paint, literally throwing flaming fireballs at each other while the festival attendees watch. I guess if you really wanted to, you could participate, but I'm not sure I really would. Dodgeball with flaming balls of fire. That sounds like something the Marines would make up on a drunken Saturday afternoon. But this festival takes place every year on the 31st of August. And it's a little bitty village, so there's not a lot to do there, but it is only about 10 miles outside of San Salvador, which has beautiful cathedrals and is a nice town to visit. It is a little dangerous in San Salvador, but my understanding is if you stay in the main areas and don't wander into where the gangs operate, that you're probably all right. After all, you didn't get burned up with flaming balls of fire. What could you worry about? Now, if that one's a little too dangerous for you, you might enjoy something a little calmer. So head over to Dubai for the Dubai Shopping Festival. Yes, there is a festival dedicated to shopping. It happens in December and January of every year. It takes place over 46 days, and it's been going on for about 25 years. They have over 700 brands and 3,000 stores participating in this festival. And visitors hoping to snag a designer bargain as well as shopping to commemorate the festival. The city holds fireworks displays and street performances and all kinds of shows to entertain visitors when they're not indulging in retail therapy. And Dubai is known as the City of Gold. Now, I remember being at the airport in Dubai and seeing vending machines that dispensed gold. That's right, you could put your credit card in there and out would pop whatever you wanted to buy. 1 ounce to 10 ounce bar gold. 40% of the world's physical gold is traded through Dubai. And they have some of the lowest prices because of no taxes. And Dubai is a man-made oasis carved out of the desert with all their money flowing through there. And you can do just about anything. They have water parks. They have an indoor snow skiing park. All kinds of water sports and desert ATV and four-wheeler rides and camel rides and fine dining and luxury products from around the world. I've been there a few times, and it's real hard to be bored in Dubai. And I guess if you want to go December to January, hit the shopping festival and pick up some designer clothes or designer handbag for the wife and get it at a great price. But I'm from Texas, and I like a good bargain shopping, but I like this festival a whole lot better. La Mesa, Texas has the Chicken Fried Steak Festival. If you don't know what it is, everybody in Texas loves a good chicken fried steak. But in La Mesa, there's a whole festival for it. The event, which is held every April, includes a cook-off, chicken fried steak dinner, and even a parade and a car show. Now, this has been a Texas favorite dish for generations. As a result, many historians agree that German and Austrian immigrants who settled in Texas in the 1800s were the first ones to introduce chicken fried steak, replacing veal from popular German dish of Wiener Schnitzel with a cut of beef that was readily available and cheap in Oklahoma and Texas. And by the 1930s, the chicken fried steak seems to have been accepted by everybody. Now, an often repeated story from Texas, known for tall tales and small amounts of truth, credits a fellow by the name of Jimmy Don Perkins, an unemployed drawbridge oiler working as a short order cook in the South Plains, Texas town of La Mesa, who in 1911 accidentally created chicken fried steak by mixing up a chicken order and a steak order, misinterpreting the waitress' hastily scribbled order, reading chicken fried steak. And so he chicken fried a steak. And because of this, La Mesa was officially cemented as the birthplace of the chicken fried steak via a 2011 state resolution. And the town continues to hold a festival in honor of the dish every April. Now, La Mesa is in the Texas Panhandle, about 150 miles west of Abilene and 70 miles east of Hobbs, New Mexico. and it's a fairly small town with about 10,000 residents. And other than enjoying some chicken fried steak, there's really not a whole lot to do there. But how far are you willing to drive for a world-class chicken fried steak and attend the festival? Now, this next one, why, I do not know, but there are several of them in the United States. I went to one, the Testicle Festival. I have no idea why there's more than one. I don't even know why there's one. A few years ago, myself, along with 2 or 3 other fellows, were invited to this town to be judges of the Virginia City, Nevada Rocky Mountain Oyster Fry, otherwise known as the original sack lunch, the swinging tenderloins, cowboy caviar, the dusted nut. Well, Virginia City, Nevada has the Rocky Mountain Oyster Fry, and it's celebrated the event for 43 years now, and it's held annually on the Saturday closest to St. Patrick's Day. And it's a great town to visit. I love Virginia City, Nevada. The oysters that they call oysters, not so much. Now, I'm going to tell you, when I was there, it was snowing, because this is up in the mountains. It's still cold. It was about, I don't know, maybe 30 degrees. They had us in a tent. They gave us a cooler full of beer, which I do appreciate, so we could drink lots of beer while we were judging these things. They had a table behind us there was about 30 people entered this contest, and they made all kinds of stuff using these delicacies. Now, the problem is, like I said, it's 30 degrees, and this thing's been sitting on the table for 15, 20, 30 minutes. Naturally, they were really cold. Some were a little chewy, but I managed to do my duty and drink lots of beer in the meantime. But there were tacos. There was chili. There was one guy who I do not appreciate, and if I could have found him, I would have beat him with a stick. His entry was cut them into a little bitty round slab, about a 1/4 inch thick, put it on the grill just enough to heat that sucker up, and then slap it in between 2 little bitty hamburger buns and call it a slider. Nothing else. Now imagine eating that thing after it's been sitting out for 30 minutes in the cold. But there were some that I ate, and I was like, well, this isn't bad. If I didn't know what it was, I would have said, this is not bad, but I knew what it was. And there were some that it took everything I could do in a couple of beers to choke that thing down. But we had a blast, and we did finally name a winner. But there is a lot to do in Virginia City. Virginia City is just an Old West mining town. Mark Twain was the editor of the newspaper there at one time, and there's saloons that are still there from Mark Twain's days. And there's all kinds of ghost haunts there and just all kinds of interesting things to do. They have a festival every single weekend. They've got something going on. Car shows, camel races. They've got something going on all the time. If you ever get a chance to go to Virginia City, do it. And while you're there, you're not going to find chain hotels or anything else there. Very limited space to spend the night. One place that you need to book is the Gold Hill Hotel. It's about 2-3 miles outside of town in what used to be the town of Gold Hill, which was a gold mining camp. The oldest hotel in the state of Nevada. Great little hotel. It's got a bar and a restaurant down in the basement, and it is said to be haunted. I spent the night there. Nothing bothered me, probably because I had had a lot of beer and I was just sleepy by that time. But if you ever get a chance, go to Virginia City. Go during St. Patrick's Day and try some Rocky Mountain oysters. You will have a blast. Trust me on that one. But from Rocky Mountain oysters, the people in Hawaii have a festival that they prefer something a little different. The Waikiki Spam Jam. Now, Spam was introduced in 1937 by Hormel Foods. And in World War II, they shipped that stuff to servicemen all over the world because it could be kept for a long time, and it was in a metal tin, and all they had to do was open it up, and it was easy access meat product, I guess. And Spam was introduced to Hawaii as a staple for American soldiers. Now, after the war, Spam became a part of the local cuisine, and the residents developed food traditions, and they developed a love for Spam. And you may have heard that more Spam is consumed per person in Hawaii than in any other state in the United States. Almost 7 million cans of Spam are eaten every year in Hawaii. So in 2003, the Outrigger Hotel decided to come up with a festival, and they've hosted the annual Spam Jam every year since then, where the main street in Waikiki is closed to car traffic during the event, and various entertainment stages are set up on the street. Restaurants and resorts get in on the act, and there were over 40,000 people show up to celebrate Spam. They have 3 large stages on the avenue, and festival showcases some of Hawaii's top musicians, multiple acts on each stage as you walk up and down the street. And beyond the music, you'll find local artisans and shops selling all kinds of stuff. And the closed roadblock party takes place this year, April 26th, from like 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. But participating restaurants will be serving the unique Spam dishes starting April 19th to May the 4th at various Waikiki restaurants. So it's like a one-day block party celebrating Spam, and tons of people show up for this thing. You can buy all your little Spam swag. Now this next one runs for 24 consecutive days every fall, making it the longest-running fair in the nation. Established in 1886, the Texas State Fair has been serving up innovative and strange food to customers ever since. In fact, invented in 1932, Fritos were introduced to the public in 1936 at the Texas State Fair. In the 1930s, vaudeville performers Neil Fletcher and his wife Minnie and his brother Carl were offered a food booth by the Texas State Fair officials after they did a really nice performance. So they began experimenting with a little concoction that they had, and instead of baking it, they decided to fry it and said, you know what, this tastes a lot better being fried. And since then, the Fletcher corn dog has been a Texas State Fair staple. Now, there are some people that say they invented that corn dog before the Fletchers. And they may have, but Fletcher sure made it famous. And if you can deep fat fry it, you will find it at the Texas State Fair. There are deep fried short ribs, battered and deep fried dill pickle spears, covered in cheese and caramelized bacon chunks. And everybody has either had or heard of a funnel cake, golden fried dough dusted with powdered sugar on top with a big scoop of Bluebell vanilla ice cream. And drizzle that with some Dr. Pepper syrup. And now you have a Texas State Fair-worthy funnel cake. They have everything. Cotton candy bacon, deep fried brisket burnt ends, battered and deep fried bacon, fried Oreos and Snickers bars, even fried ice cream. Don't ask me how they do it. I don't know, but I've had it, and it is deep fried ice cream. And a whole lot more. If they can fry it, they will. They have competitions every year on who can come up with new and innovative foods for the state fair. And there's other stuff to do there more than just eating 50 million calories of deep fried food. There's exhibits and everything else. And it's held in Dallas, right next to the Cotton Bowl, every year. And there's rides and there's other stuff to do. But if you are ever anywhere around it, you need to attend at least once the Texas State Fair. And this next one, and it's the last one I'm going to tell you about. I've been to this one also. In fact, I've been to several of them, but I've been to the granddaddy of them all, Oktoberfest. Lots of places celebrate Oktoberfest, but there's only one original, and that's in Munich, Germany. Oktoberfest is an annual festival held in Munich over a 2-week period, ending on the first Sunday in October. So it actually starts in September. It originated in 1810 in celebration of the marriage of the Crown Prince of Bavaria to some princess. So Germans, doing one of the things they're known best for, and that's drink beer, decided to have a party that lasted 2 weeks. Now, the beer that you will find at the Oktoberfest is brewed only within the city limits of Munich, and it's specially brewed for the festival, and it must have at least 6% alcohol. And this is a huge event, so much so that somewhere between 600 to 800 people every year suffer alcohol poisoning at the event. But don't worry, there's a Red Cross tent there on the grounds if you get sick. Now, there are 14 beer tents at Oktoberfest. All the breweries have their own beer tent. The largest is the Hofbrau Festhall. Now, you're not going to believe this. It holds 11,000 people in that one tent. And these tents are full. I mean, if you don't get there at a certain time in the afternoon or the early evening, you're not going to get in. So they have overflow outside where there's like picnic tables and benches set up outside with heaters blowing on people because it is kind of chilly that time of year for the people that can't get inside the tent. And they got the Oompa bands playing, and I mean, it's a hoot. But more than 6 million people attend Oktoberfest annually, and it employs up to 13,000 people. And it's free to enter. Doesn't cost you anything to go into Oktoberfest. It does cost you to drink the beer and eat the food, but it doesn't cost you to get in. And believe it or not, it's very family friendly. There are hundreds of children that attend the festival every year. The year I went, I was actually in the military. Me, my wife, and my oldest daughter, who was probably 2 years old at the time. We went, and my daughter had a blast because there's all kinds of Ferris wheels and roller coasters and games and parades and just all kinds of stuff that go on the fairgrounds. And she had a hoot in the beer tent, too. I mean, she was laughing and singing along with everybody else. She wasn't drinking any beer, but she was having a blast. And there was kids in the beer tent. You got to remember, this is Germany. This is not like taking your kid to a bar down on 6th Street in Austin. This is a totally different atmosphere. But if it seems like losing your offspring is a rather common side effect of beer drinking. But they do have a lost and found children's office on the premise. So if you do lose them, they'll be there. And Germans are pretty friendly. They will see your daughter running around and going, "Daddy, where's Daddy?" And they'll take them over to the lost and say, some fool left his kid out here. And there's German police walking around everywhere. It's safe. It's fun. Everybody has a blast. And if you're going to go to one, you might as well go to the one in Munich. And there's a ton of stuff to do in Munich. Munich's a beautiful city. Lots of things to see and do. And it's in Bavaria, so you're not very far from a lot of other really cool things to see and do. Garmisch is only about 55 miles away, and it has beautiful scenery there, as well as a town called Oberammergau. And it's known for its wood carvers and wood carvings, as well as its 320-year history of putting on the Passion Play. I've been to both of those places, and I've also been to Neuschwanstein, which is about 65, 70 miles away from Munich. And Neuschwanstein is the castle built between 1868 and 1882 by King Ludwig II. And it is visited by over 1.5 million people every year. As many as 6,000 people a day go to see this castle. If you're going to go see Neuschwanstein, you need to get tickets in advance. And that's the castle that's said to be the inspiration for Disney's Cinderella Castle. It's a beautiful, beautiful castle. If you ever get a chance, you got to go see it. So that's the thing. Find you a festival. There's one for everything. There's festivals celebrating Bigfoot and animals and food and events and all kinds of stuff. Do a search for festivals in your state and make a weekend trip out of it. See some of the sites in the area before you hit the festival. Make the festival the last thing you do, your last day there. If it's a beer fest, arrange to spend the night there and then drive home the next day. But whether it's a beer fest, a wine fest, a chicken fried steak festival, the Onion Festival in California, the Garlic Festival, the Bigfoot Festival, or the Alien Festival they have out in Roswell, there's something out there for everybody where you can just have a blast, take the family, and enjoy a nice trip. But you ought to try and hit a couple of these festivals. As always, if you like the episode, if you like the podcast, hit like, hit subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And if you haven't, go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. You get one a month. It has things in there about the latest travel news and travel contests where you can apply for and maybe win a trip to one of these places. If you have any questions, any suggestions, or anything that you might like to hear on a future podcast, shoot me an email at editor@thetravelingfool.com. and I'll get back to you on it. We'll see what we can do. Until next time, safe travels.